It was just another ordinary day on Earth. The sun rose gently over the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. Birds chirped their morning songs, and people began their daily routines. In bustling cities, commuters hurried to catch buses and trains. In quiet villages, farmers tended to their crops while children played near riversides. Life moved forward as it always did, predictable, familiar, uneventful. But then, something extraordinary happened. Around mid-morning, the sky started behaving strangely. At first, no one noticed. It was subtle, a faint shimmer like heat waves rising from asphalt on a summer afternoon. People glanced up briefly, shrugged it off, and continued with their tasks. Some thought it might be an unusual weather pattern or perhaps a trick of the light, but as time passed, the shimmer grew brighter, more intense until it became impossible to ignore. By noon, the entire planet watched in awe as the heavens above seemed to split apart. The blue expanse of the sky fractured like glass, revealing a vast void beyond. From this void emerged massive shapes, gigantic vessels unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were sleek and metallic, bristling with weapons and glowing with strange lights. These weren't mere spaceships. They looked like floating fortresses, each one larger than any city skyscraper. Towering spires jutted out from their hulls, and energy pulses rippled along their surfaces. To anyone watching, they appeared invincible. The first reaction was disbelief. Many people froze, staring at the sky with wide eyes, unable to process what they were seeing. Others grabbed their phones, snapping photos and recording videos to share online. Social media exploded within minutes as posts flooded platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. "Is this real?" asked one caption under a shaky video of the descending ships. "Aliens are here," read another post, accompanied by a blurry image of the largest vessel hovering ominously overhead. As the initial shock wore off, fear set in. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing emergency alerts and calling for calm. Military forces mobilized, positioning tanks and fighter jets near major cities. Scientists convened urgent meetings, trying to make sense of the phenomenon. Religious leaders prayed, some claiming the end of the world had arrived. Panic spread quickly, but not everyone succumbed to terror. Instead, a surprising emotion began to take root: defiance. For reasons no one could fully explain, humanity felt anger rather than submission. Perhaps it was because these alien ships hadn't arrived peacefully. They loomed menacingly, radiating hostility. Or maybe it was the arrogance of their arrival, as if they believed Earthlings would simply bow down without a fight. Whatever the reason, humans refused to cower. Across continents, people rallied together, determined to defend their home. Meanwhile, aboard the largest destroyer, Commander Vrax of the Zenari fleet observed Earth's response with growing unease. He stood tall in his command chamber, his armored body glinting under artificial lights. Around him, holographic displays flickered with data streams showing human activity below. His advisors whispered nervously, pointing out anomalies in their predictions. "They should be surrendering by now," muttered Lieutenant Tail, one of Vrax's top strategists. "Our intel indicated that humans are fragmented, weak, yet look at them, they're organizing." Vrax clenched his fists, his sharp claws digging into his palms. He hated uncertainty. Before launching the invasion, he'd studied Earth extensively. Reports described humans as chaotic creatures, prone to infighting and selfishness. Their history was riddled with wars, corruption, and environmental destruction. Based on this information, the Zenari leadership assumed conquering Earth would be easy, but what they saw now defied all expectations. On the ground, people worked tirelessly to prepare for battle. In small towns, farmers welded scrap metal into crude weapons. Mechanics modified tractors into mobile artillery units. Hackers infiltrated alien communication systems, planting false data to confuse the invaders. Even children contributed, spreading misinformation on social media to mislead the enemy. Every corner of Earth buzzed with activity, united by a single goal: survival. In New York City, Volunteer groups handed out supplies to those in need. In rural India, villagers dug trenches to slow down potential ground assaults. In Tokyo, engineers repurposed old satellites to monitor alien movements. Despite cultural differences and language barriers, humanity acted as one cohesive unit. Strangers helped strangers, neighbors protected neighbors, and nations shared resources freely. Back on the destroyer, Vrax stared at the screens displaying scenes of human determination. He saw families packing bags to evacuate yet refusing to leave their homes unprotected. He saw elderly men teaching younger generations how to handle firearms. He saw teenagers using smartphones to coordinate resistance efforts. Each image chipped away at his confidence, filling him with doubt. "Why do they resist so fiercely?" he growled, pacing the room. "They must know we are superior." Tail hesitated before answering. Perhaps they value their freedom more than their lives." Vrax snarled at the suggestion. Freedom? What nonsense was this? To the Zinari, such concepts were irrelevant. Their empire thrived on control, efficiency, and dominance. Love, loyalty, creativity. These were weaknesses to be eradicated. And yet, here were humans, embracing their flaws and turning them into strengths. As night fell, the shimmering tear in the sky remained open, casting an eerie glow over the planet. The alien fleet maintained its position, neither advancing nor retreating. Below, bonfires burned brightly in parks and fields where communities gathered to discuss strategies and boost morale. Songs echoed through the darkness, voices raised in defiance. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. It was fighting for its soul. And somewhere high above, hidden among the stars, the Zinari fleet trembled. For the first time in centuries, they faced an opponent unlike any other. Not stronger, not faster, not technologically advanced, but united, determined, unbreakable. Little did either side know this was only the beginning. The days following the arrival of the alien fleet were chaotic, but humanity's resolve only grew stronger. News outlets broadcasted updates non-stop, showing images of people coming together in ways that defied logic. In bustling cities like New York and Tokyo, citizens formed impromptu militias, armed with whatever they could find. Farmers in rural areas turned their tractors into makeshift tanks, welding steel plates to protect themselves. Even children pitched in, using their smartphones to spread misinformation online, creating fake maps and false troop movements to confuse the invaders. Governments around the world acted quickly, setting aside political squabbles to focus on the crisis. The United Nations held an emergency meeting, where leaders from every nation pledged to work together. Resources were pooled, weapons, ammunition, food supplies, all shared equally among allies. Countries that had once been enemies now stood, side by side, united by a common cause. It was unprecedented, a level of global cooperation never seen before. But it wasn't just governments leading the charge. Ordinary people stepped up in extraordinary ways. In small towns across Europe, retired engineers dusted off old blueprints and began building devices designed to disrupt alien technology. One group in Germany managed to create a device that emitted electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, capable of disabling drones and other unmanned vehicles. When tested against a hovering alien probe, the gadget worked perfectly, sending the machine crashing to the ground. Videos of the experiment went viral, inspiring others to replicate the design. Hackers also played a crucial role in the resistance. From basements and bedrooms, tech-savvy individuals infiltrated alien communication networks. They sent false signals, tricking the invaders into attacking empty locations or wasting resources on decoy targets. In one instance, hackers redirected an entire squadron of alien fighters to a remote desert, leaving them stranded when they realized there was nothing to attack. These digital warriors became heroes overnight, celebrated for their ingenuity and bravery. Meanwhile, aboard the lead destroyer, Commander Vrax watched these developments with growing frustration. He paced the command chamber, his sharp claws clicking against the metallic floor. Holographic screens displayed live footage of human activity below, showing scenes of innovation and unity that baffled him. They adapt too quickly, he muttered, glaring at Lieutenant Tail. How is this possible? Tail hesitated, unsure how to respond. Perhaps they are not as primitive as we believed, Vrax snarled at the suggestion. Primitive? No. Humans were clearly intelligent. They had proven that much already. But intelligence alone didn't explain their resilience. What drove them to keep fighting, even when faced with overwhelming odds? Back home in the Zenari Empire, such determination would be crushed immediately. Weaknesses were eliminated, dissent stamped out. Yet here, on Earth, weakness seemed to fuel strength. As the days passed, the aliens launched several attacks hoping to break humanity's spirit. Massive energy beams rained down on cities, obliterating buildings and scattering survivors. Fighter ships soared through the skies targeting military installations and supply lines. But instead of surrendering, humans adapted. When energy shields blocked bullets, they switched to EMP devices salvaged from old military projects. When drones scouted ahead, hackers sent false data back to confuse enemy forces. Every time the Zenari thought they had gained the upper hand, humanity found a way to counter them. In one particularly daring move, a group of volunteers in Brazil used mirrors and reflective surfaces to redirect the aliens' own energy weapons back at them. The tactic worked brilliantly, destroying several smaller ships and forcing the invaders to retreat temporarily. Word of the success spread rapidly, inspiring similar efforts elsewhere. Soon, entire neighborhoods were covered in reflective materials, turning them into makeshift fortresses. Even nature itself seemed to aid humanity's cause. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes banded together, using their knowledge of the land to ambush alien patrols. Thick foliage provided perfect cover, while natural poisons derived from plants incapacitated enemy troops. The aliens, accustomed to sterile environments and advanced technology, struggled to navigate the dense jungle terrain. Stories of tribal victories traveled far and wide, boosting morale across the globe. Back on the destroyer, Vrax's frustration boiled over into anger. He convened a war council demanding answers from his advisors. Why can't we crush them? He roared, slamming his fist onto the table. We have superior weapons, superior numbers. Why do they keep resisting? One advisor, a scientist, named Zira, spoke cautiously. Commander, perhaps it is not about weapons or numbers. Perhaps it is something deeper, something we cannot measure. What nonsense is this? Vrax snapped. Speak plainly. Zira hesitated, then continued. Humans value connection, family, community. These bonds give them strength. They fight not just for survival but for each other. Vrax scoffed at the idea, dismissing it as sentimental drivel, but deep down, doubt gnawed at him. Could Zira be right? Was there something intangible driving humanity's defiance? If so, how could the Zenari possibly overcome it? While the aliens debated strategy, humanity pressed forward. Scientists raced to develop new technologies, drawing inspiration from unexpected sources. In South Africa, researchers discovered ancient cave paintings depicting strange symbols that glowed faintly under ultraviolet light. Further analysis revealed patterns resembling mathematical equations. Could these markings hold clues to advanced knowledge? Teams worked tirelessly to decode the symbols, hoping to unlock secrets that might aid the resistance. At the same time, ordinary citizens found creative ways to contribute. Artists painted murals of hope and resilience, turning bombed-out buildings into symbols of endurance. Musicians composed songs that echoed through the streets, lifting spirits and reminding everyone why they fought. Even poets joined the effort, penning verses that captured the essence of humanity's struggle. Their words resonated deeply, giving voice to emotions many couldn't express. In schools, teachers educated children about courage and teamwork. History lessons focused on past conflicts where humanity triumphed against all odds. Students learned about the Battle of Thermopylae, the American Revolution, and the fall of apartheid. These stories inspired young minds, planting seeds of determination that would grow into action. Despite the constant threat of attack, life carried on. Farmers planted crops, knowing they might not survive to harvest them. Parents tucked their children into bed, whispering reassurances that everything would be okay. Lovers held hands, finding solace in each other's presence. Life mattered more than ever, and people cherished every moment. By the end of the second week, the balance of power began to shift. Alien casualties mounted while human losses remained relatively low. Morale soared among the resistance, bolstered by small victories that added up to something greater. For the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered in human hearts. Aboard the destroyer, Vrax stared at the screens showing chaotic yet coordinated human efforts. His advisors whispered warnings, urging retreat, but pride kept him rooted. "They are primitives," he growled. "Their technology cannot match ours." Still, doubt gnawed at him. Why did these fragile beings fight so fiercely? Unbeknownst to both sides, the real game-changer was about to emerge. Deep within the heart of the Amazon rainforest, scientists uncovered an ancient artifact buried beneath layers of soil. Carbon dating placed its origin millions of years ago, long before recorded history. To everyone's astonishment, the object pulsed with energy when activated, emitting frequencies that disrupted alien tech. Word of the discovery reached global leaders, who immediately ordered mass production of devices based on the artifact's design. Humanity was about to gain a powerful advantage, one that would change the course of the war forever. The discovery of the ancient artifact in the Amazon rainforest marked a pivotal moment in humanity's fight against the alien invaders. Scientists had been working tirelessly to decode its secrets, and within days they unlocked something extraordinary. When activated, the object emitted a low-frequency pulse that disrupted alien technology. Energy shields flickered, drones fell from the sky, and communication systems jammed. It was as if the artifact had been designed specifically to counter the Zenari fleet, a weapon from Earth's distant past, waiting to be rediscovered. News of the breakthrough spread like wildfire. Governments around the world mobilized their industries, converting factories into production hubs for handheld devices based on the artifact's design. Engineers worked around the clock, reverse engineering the ancient technology and scaling it down into portable units. Within a week, thousands of disruptors were distributed to soldiers, volunteers, and civilians. These small gadgets became humanity's most powerful tool, a beacon of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. Armed with this newfound advantage, humanity launched a series of coordinated attacks. In cities across the globe, resistance fighters used the disruptors to disable alien patrols and reclaim key areas. One such operation took place in Paris, where a group of French volunteers targeted an alien outpost located near the Eiffel Tower. Using the disruptors, they neutralized the energy barriers protecting the base and overwhelmed the invaders inside. By sunrise, the iconic landmark was free of alien presence, its iron structure standing tall once again as a symbol of defiance. In Tokyo, a team of hackers combined the disruptors with cyber warfare tactics. They infiltrated the alien Central Command network, planting viruses that caused widespread malfunctions aboard the destroyers. Entire sections of the fleet went dark, leaving them vulnerable to attack. Fighter jets launched from nearby air bases, targeting disabled ships with precision strikes. Explosions lit up the night sky as human forces struck back with renewed vigor. But perhaps the most daring mission occurred in New York City. A joint task force comprising U.S. Marines, local militia, groups, and even ordinary citizens stormed the ruins of Manhattan, which had become a stronghold for the Zenari. Armed with disruptors and makeshift weapons, they fought street by street, building by building, reclaiming the city inch by inch. Civilians cheered from rooftops, waving flags and shouting encouragement. By the time the battle ended, the Statue of Liberty stood untouched amidst the devastation, a testament to humanity's resilience. Meanwhile, aboard the lead destroyer, Commander Vrax watched these developments with mounting dread. His once unstoppable fleet was faltering, its technological superiority rendered useless by humanity's ingenuity. Holographic screens displayed scenes of chaos, ships malfunctioning, troops retreating, and entire operations crumbling under coordinated human assaults. For the first time in his career, Vrax felt fear creeping into his mind. "They are winning," muttered Lieutenant Tail, staring at the data streams with wide eyes. How is this possible? Vrax clenched his fists, his sharp claws digging into his palms. He hated this feeling of helplessness. Back home, failure was not tolerated. Commanders who lost battles were executed without mercy. Yet here he was, facing an enemy he couldn't comprehend, an enemy that refused to break no matter how hard he hit them. Zyra, the scientist who had earlier suggested humanity's strength lay in their bonds, stepped forward cautiously. Commander, we must adapt. Their technology is evolving faster than we anticipated. Adapt? Vrax growled, turning to face her. We are the Zinari. We do not adapt, we conquer. And yet, here we stand, losing. Zyra replied firmly. If we continue down this path, there will be nothing left to conquer. Her words struck a nerve. Vrax knew she was right, but admitting it felt like swallowing poison. Pride had always been the cornerstone of Zinari culture, a belief in their inherent superiority over all other species. To acknowledge that humans might be their equals, or, worse, their betters, was unthinkable. And yet the evidence was undeniable. Desperate for answers, Vrax ordered a full-scale analysis of the disruptor technology. Teams of scientists dissected captured devices, attempting to understand how they worked. What they found shocked them. The disruptors didn't just interfere with Zinari tech. They resonated with it on a fundamental level, exploiting weaknesses built into their systems. It was as if someone had foreseen the Zinari's arrival and prepared accordingly. This cannot be coincidence, Vrax muttered, examining the reports. Someone planned this. Tail nodded grimly. It appears so, Commander. But who? And why? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Another wave of human attacks had begun, this time targeting the fleet's core vessels. Disruptors pulsed with energy, disabling critical systems and leaving the destroyers adrift. Communication lines collapsed, cutting off Vrax from his commanders. Panic spread among the crew as they realized they were losing control. On Earth, the tide had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Resistance fighters celebrated each victory, no matter how small, knowing they were chipping away at the invaders' resolve. Social media buzzed with updates, videos, and messages of gratitude. People shared stories of bravery and sacrifice, honoring those who had fallen in the fight. Even children joined in, drawing pictures of heroes battling alien monsters and posting them online. In one particularly heartwarming moment, a young girl named Maya became an internet sensation after gifting a handmade disruptor case to a soldier. Her father, a carpenter, had crafted the wooden box to protect the fragile device during combat. The soldier posted a photo of himself holding the gift, tears streaming down his face. Within hours, the image went viral, inspiring countless others to contribute in their own ways. As the war raged on, humanity's unity reached new heights. Refugees fleeing conflict zones were welcomed with open arms, provided food, shelter, and medical care. Communities organized fundraisers to support affected families, while artists and musicians created works to lift spirits. Love and compassion flowed freely, strengthening the bonds that held society together. Back on the destroyer, Vrax made a fateful decision. Realizing they could no longer win through brute force, he ordered a retreat. The remaining ships would regroup at a safe distance, allowing him to reassess their strategy. But even as he gave the command, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that humanity's defiance had awakened something greater than any weapon or tactic. Little did he know, another revelation was about to rock both sides to their core. Among the captured Zinari prisoners, one individual bore an uncanny resemblance to a man who had once been tried in an international court decades earlier. The prisoner, identified as Kale, claimed to be a genetic descendant of Marcus Drake, a human who had betrayed Earth during a past conflict. Decades ago, Drake had vanished after escaping custody, only to resurface now as part of the Zinari invasion. This shocking truth ignited outrage worldwide. Leaders demanded answers, while ordinary citizens rallied around the idea of justice. Kale, however, refused to remain silent. Speaking through translators, he revealed horrifying details about the Zenari's plans. Earth's resources weren't their only target. They sought to enslave humanity entirely. Armed with this knowledge, Earth's leaders devised a bold plan. Using the artifact's frequency, they broadcasted Kale's testimony directly to the Zenari fleet. The goal was simple: sow discord among the invaders. If the Zenari doubted their commander's motives, the invasion would falter. Humanity was about to deliver its final blow, a strike aimed not just at the invaders' ships but at the very foundation of their empire. The revelation about Kale, the captured Zenari prisoner, sent shockwaves across Earth. News of his connection to Marcus Drake, the infamous human traitor, spread like wildfire. People were outraged but also curious. Who was this man whose betrayal had haunted history books? And how did his actions decades ago tie into the current alien invasion? Kale's resemblance to Marcus Drake was uncanny. His facial structure, though slightly altered by genetic modifications, bore unmistakable similarities to photographs of the war criminal. Scientists and historians quickly pieced together the truth. Decades earlier, Marcus Drake had been abducted by the Zenari after escaping Earth. Rather than killing him, they saw potential in his treachery. Through advanced genetic engineering, they transformed him into one of them, a hybrid soldier loyal to their empire. Kyle was the result, a descendant bred for loyalty and combat. Despite his alien appearance, Kyle retained fragments of his humanity. He spoke haltingly at first, using translators to communicate with Earth's leaders. But as days passed, he began opening up, revealing secrets that would change everything. "I am not proud of what I am," he admitted during an interview, broadcast globally. "But I want to help you stop them." His words carried weight. Humanity listened intently as Kale described life aboard the Zenari fleet. The invaders weren't just conquerors, they were oppressors. Entire planets had been stripped of resources, their populations enslaved or exterminated. Earth wasn't their first target. It was merely the latest in a long line of worlds marked for domination. "They see you as inferior," Kyle explained. "Not because you are weak, but because you value things they cannot understand. Love, freedom, creativity. To them, these are weaknesses, but to you they are strengths." Kale's testimony struck a chord. For years, humans had feared the unknown, assuming the aliens' technology made them invincible. Now they realized the true nature of their enemy. The Zenari weren't gods, they were tyrants, and tyranny could be defeated. Earth's leaders wasted no time capitalizing on this revelation. Using the ancient artifact's frequency, they devised a plan to broadcast Kale's story directly to the Zenari fleet. The goal was simple yet audacious: sow discord among the invaders. If lower-ranking officers questioned their mission, or worse, doubted their commander's motives, the entire invasion could collapse from within. Engineers worked tirelessly to modify existing disruptor devices, turning them into transmitters, capable of bypassing alien communication barriers. Meanwhile, linguists collaborated with Kale to craft a message that would resonate deeply with the Zenari. It wasn't enough to expose the truth. They needed to ignite rebellion. "We must show them who we are," Kale urged. "Tell them about our families, our dreams, our sacrifices. Let them see why we fight." And so humanity created a video unlike any other. Footage of everyday life played alongside scenes of resistance fighters battling the invaders. Children smiled as they handed flowers to soldiers. Elderly couples held hands while watching sunsets. Farmers tilled fields, artists painted murals, and musicians performed songs of hope. Interspersed throughout were clips of Kyle speaking passionately about his transformation, from a tool of oppression to an ally of freedom. "This is Earth," the narrator concluded. "A world worth protecting, a people worth fighting for." When the broadcast went live, it reached every corner of the Zenari fleet. Screens flickered aboard the destroyers, forcing crew members to watch. Some tried to shut it off, but the signal was too strong. Others stared in silence, unable to look away, What they saw challenged everything they believed. Back on Earth, tension mounted as humanity waited for a response. Would the gambit work? Or would the Zainari retaliate with even greater force? No one knew for sure. Aboard the lead destroyer, Commander Vrax watched the broadcast with growing fury. His clawed hands gripped the edges of his command chair, knuckles white with rage. Around him, his advisors stood frozen, unsure what to say. On the holographic screens, images of smiling humans flashed repeatedly, accompanied by Kale's voice narrating their stories. Enough, Vrax roared, slamming his fist onto the console. Shut it down. It's impossible, Commander, Lieutenant Tale replied nervously. The signal is overriding all systems. We can't stop it, Vrax snarled, pacing the room like a caged predator. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. The humans had infiltrated his fleet, not with weapons, but with words. Words that resonated far more deeply than he cared to admit. Below decks, chaos erupted. Lower-ranking officers gathered in groups, whispering anxiously. Some expressed disbelief, refusing to accept Kale's claims. Others voiced doubts, questioning whether their mission was truly justified. Among them was Zira, the scientist who had earlier suggested humanity's strength lay in their bonds. She listened intently, her sharp eyes scanning the crowd. They're right, she murmured to a fellow officer. We've been lied to. Her words sparked a firestorm. Dissent spread rapidly, fueled by anger and confusion. Mutiny became a real possibility. Vrax's grip on his fleet was slipping, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the effects of the broadcast became evident almost immediately. Alien attacks slowed, then stopped altogether. Ships that had once dominated the skies now hovered aimlessly, their crews paralyzed by internal conflict. Resistance fighters seized the opportunity, launching coordinated assaults on remaining outposts. One by one, the invaders fell, undone by their own divisions. In New York City, volunteers stormed the last alien stronghold, armed with disruptors and courage. Civilians lined the streets, cheering as soldiers reclaimed the city block by block. By nightfall, Times Square was free of alien presence, its billboards lighting up once again with messages of hope. We are Earth. Together we stand. Freedom wins. Similar victories unfolded worldwide. In Tokyo, hackers disabled the final drone network, rendering the invaders blind. In Paris, engineers dismantled alien energy cores, cutting off their power supply. Even in remote villages, farmers used homemade EMP devices to disable grounded ships, ensuring no corner of Earth remained under Zainari control. As the tide turned decisively in humanity's favor, attention shifted to Commander Vrax. Cornered and desperate, he attempted to flee aboard an escape pod. But Kale intervened, sabotaging the vessel meant to carry Vrax to safety. Trapped on his flagship, Vrax faced a choice: surrender or die. He chose neither. With a roar of defiance, Vrax activated the ship's self-destruct sequence, intending to take as many humans with him as possible. Alarms blared across the fleet, warning of imminent destruction. But humanity had anticipated this move. Pilots scrambled to intercept the destroyer, firing disruptor-equipped missiles that crippled its engines. The massive ship shuddered violently before exploding in a fiery blaze, lighting up the sky like a second sun. Cheers erupted across Earth as the last destroyer fell. The impossible had been achieved. Humanity had triumphed against a foe far more advanced. Tears flowed freely as people hugged strangers, danced in the streets, and sang songs of victory. Fireworks lit up the night sky, celebrating not just survival but unity. In the aftermath, Kale chose to remain on Earth, seeking redemption for his ancestors' crimes. Humanity welcomed him cautiously but warmly, recognizing his role in their victory. Memorials were erected to honor those lost in the fight, while treaties were signed with surviving Zainari factions willing to coexist peacefully. Years later, children gazed up at the stars with wonder, no longer fearing what lay beyond. The story of Earth's victory became legend, passed down through generations as a testament to courage, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit of humankind. And somewhere among the constellations, The Xenari remembered the day they underestimated humanity and paid the price. The final moments of the alien invasion were nothing short of cinematic. As Commander Vrax's flagship exploded in a brilliant burst of light, humanity collectively held its breath. The deafening roar of the explosion echoed across continents, visible even from miles away. It was a spectacle that marked not just the end of the Xenari fleet, but also the dawn of a new era for Earth. For weeks, people had lived under the shadow of fear, wondering if they would survive to see another sunrise. Now, as the skies cleared and the last remnants of alien technology fell silent, relief washed over the planet like a tidal wave. In cities and villages alike, celebrations erupted spontaneously. People poured into the streets, hugging strangers, dancing to impromptu music and lighting fireworks. In New York City, Times Square became a sea of joyous faces, illuminated by neon lights and cheers. A man played a guitar on a makeshift stage, singing an old folk song about unity and resilience. Nearby, a group of children waved homemade flags, their laughter ringing out like bells. Similar scenes unfolded worldwide, in Tokyo, Paris, Mumbai, and beyond as humanity celebrated its hard-won victory. But amidst the jubilation, there was also reflection. The war had come at a cost. Millions had lost their homes, livelihoods, or loved ones. Entire neighborhoods lay in ruins, and scars, both physical and emotional, would take years to heal. Yet, even in grief, there was hope. The sacrifices made during the war had forged a bond among humans unlike anything seen before. Nations that had once been divided now stood united, pledging to rebuild together. Communities came together to support those affected, offering food, shelter, and comfort. Acts of kindness rippled across the globe, proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its weapons but in its compassion. Kale, the Xenari prisoner who had turned ally, found himself at the center of this newfound unity. Despite his alien appearance, he was welcomed cautiously but warmly by many. His decision to betray the Xenari fleet earned him respect, though trust took longer to build. Kale spent his days traveling the world, speaking to crowds about the importance of freedom and cooperation. "You have shown me what it means to be human," he said during one speech in London. "Not perfection, not invincibility, but the courage to stand together even when all seems lost." His words resonated deeply. People saw in Kale a symbol of redemption, proof that change was possible, even for those born into oppression. Schools invited him to speak to students, sharing lessons about resilience and empathy. Artists painted murals depicting him alongside resistance fighters, immortalizing his role in humanity's victory. Slowly but surely, Kyle began to feel less like an outsider and more like a part of something greater. Meanwhile, scientists continued studying the ancient artifact that had played such a crucial role in the war. Its origins remained a mystery, but its potential was undeniable. Researchers discovered that the artifact's energy could be harnessed not just for defense, but also for sustainable development. By adapting its technology, they developed clean energy sources capable of powering entire cities without harming the environment. This breakthrough marked the beginning of a new chapter for Earth, a chance to rebuild smarter, stronger, and greener. Governments seized the opportunity to address long-standing issues. Climate change, poverty, and inequality became top priorities, funded by resources previously allocated to military spending. Factories repurposed alien wreckage into eco-friendly infrastructure, creating jobs and revitalizing economies. Education systems expanded, ensuring future generations were equipped to tackle challenges with innovation rather than conflict. Humanity wasn't just recovering, it was evolving. However, not everyone shared in the optimism. Some surviving Xenari factions refused to surrender, retreating to distant corners of space. While most of the fleet had been destroyed, scattered, ships remained operational, lurking in the shadows. These holdouts posed a lingering threat, reminding humanity that vigilance was still necessary. To counter this, Earth established a global defense network, combining advanced technology with grassroots efforts. Volunteers trained in emergency response, while engineers worked tirelessly to improve disruptor devices. The message was clear. Earth was ready to defend itself no matter what the future held. Back aboard the remnants of the Zenari fleet, dissent brewed among the survivors. Many questioned their leader's motives, inspired by Kyle's testimony and humanity's unwavering spirit. Rebellion spread quickly, fracturing the once united empire. Lower-ranking officers mutinied, overthrowing tyrannical commanders and seeking peace with Earth. Diplomatic envoys traveled to these rebel factions, negotiating treaties based on mutual respect and coexistence. Over time, some Zenari defectors chose to settle on Earth, integrating into human society and contributing their knowledge to scientific advancements. As years passed, the memory of the invasion transformed from trauma to legend. Books were written, movies produced, and songs composed, capturing the essence of humanity's triumph. Parents told their children bedtime stories about brave heroes who stood up to invaders, teaching them the value of courage and teamwork. Memorials were erected in parks and public squares, honoring those who had given their lives for freedom. One particularly iconic statue stood in Central Park, a towering figure holding a disruptor device aloft, symbolizing humanity's ingenuity and determination. For Kale, life on Earth became both fulfilling and challenging. He embraced his role as a bridge between two worlds, advocating for peace and understanding. Though he never fully escaped the stigma of his past, he found solace in knowing he had made amends. On quiet nights, he would sit under the stars, reflecting on how far he and humanity had come. The scars of war would always remain, but so too would the lessons learned. And so, Earth moved forward, forever changed by the events of the invasion. The sky no longer represented fear but possibility, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could rise above. Children gazed up at the stars with wonder, imagining what lay beyond. Were there other civilizations out there? Would they bring friendship or hostility? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: humanity was ready. They had faced their darkest hour and emerged stronger than ever. United by love, driven by hope, and armed with resilience, they proved that no force, no matter how powerful, could extinguish the indomitable spirit of humankind. Years later, when historians looked back on this period, they called it the turning point. It was the moment when Earth realized its true potential, not as individuals scattered across nations, but as a single species bound by shared dreams and aspirations. From the ashes of destruction rose a brighter future, built on the foundations of unity, innovation, and compassion. Somewhere high above, hidden among the constellations, the remaining Zenari remembered the day they underestimated humanity and paid the price. They whispered warnings to their descendants. Never again should arrogance blind them to the power of connection, creativity, and courage. For in those qualities lay the secret to survival, not domination. And so, the story of Earth's victory became legend, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit.